friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Tammy Ernest and I am a long arm quilter, and here on my channel I like to share client finishes as well as my own personal projects. Today is January 17th. It's the day before my birthday. So tomorrow, I won't tell you how old I will be, but it's a happy day, and I've got a day planned of shopping with my oldest daughter. She got married this past summer and lives about an hour away from us, and so tomorrow I'm headed over to her house. We'll go out for coffee and then on to some stores, do some shopping for the day. So I'm really looking forward to tomorrow. But today we have a full video. Today I have some client finishes. I finished my Alpine quilt. I'll be showing that to you. Got some mail and some other stitch alongs that I'm doing, so a full day that to share with you here today. So I'm so glad you're here. Thanks for being here today. And so we're going to start out today. I had some things arrive in the mail, and one of those things that I got in the mail this week was a new supply of thread for my long arm. So on my long arm, I run a Handy Quilter Amara. I'm on a 12-foot table, and it is digitized with Pro Stitcher, and I've had that machine just over 2 years now, and that is completely digitized. I did have a Handy Quilter HQ16 prior to that and did hand guided for many years. On my new machine, I like to run Omni thread. It just seems to work the best. I have used Glide as well. It's okay, but I tend to keep going back to the Omni. So I got a new supply of Omni. I was going to show you some of the colors that I got in this week. So we'll just start with some neutrals. This is an almond color, so you know, a little bit of a beige. Kind of got a glare on there, don't I? Or a thing. And then this one is just a cream color. So I'll put the two together. This one, they are very, very similar. I would say this one right here is just a tad shade darker. Now these aren't the only cream colors that I have in my stash. This is just the ones that I needed to resupply. So like I said, this one is called Almond, and this one is just 3007. I do have a couple lighter shades. I tend to use these much more than white. I find that unless your background fabric is a true white, then if you have any sort of a cream or anything besides a true white, that I just like the look of a little bit creamier, not a stark white thread on the top. I just think if you use a stark white on top of colored fabrics, it just stands out so much. Now some people like that, and that's fine, but my personal preference is to go just a little bit shade of a beige or a cream or a ochre, and so that the first thing you notice is your quilt pattern, and then when you get in closer you see the quilting design. So these are a couple of just neutrals that I got. I did get a little darker brown. This one is sandstone, so not a dark brown, but it's a little darker than that. Just sometimes there's a need for this, or fall quilts especially might be a time that I use this color. I also got in some grays. Now I've mentioned in the past, so between the two, I would say I probably use this one and this one the most often, and then white would be a close third behind that. I like gray thread as a neutral thread. I think in colored fabrics, I like the look of gray, and a lot of people are using gray in their quilts these days as well. I think gray is very versatile color to have if you're a long arm quilter. I think it's a very versatile thread color to have in your stash because it can blend with very bright colors. I like to use a little lighter gray on very bright colors, especially if they're using black or purples is their background fabric, or even blues. I like the gray as well. I did pick up a little darker gray. Now this one, if it's a black quilt, more of an Amish type colors, even solid colors. I like a little darker gray than even this one, because this one on top of those bright solid colors, purples, fuchsias, royal blues, those kind of things, this is going to stand out like a white would, and so I like a little darker gray there. I picked up a couple colors as well. I have this is called beach grass, and so I would say this is almost an aqua, a little more green aqua color. I've used this on several baby quilts, even some batik quilts, and I like it's green without being green. Is what I like. So a little bit of aqua. I did pick up a blue one as well. This is called Little Boy. This is a new color. I've not used this one in the past, but just wanted to have a blue on hand, especially for baby quilts sometimes, and some of the batiks, again, if they're a little bluer, this would look good on that. I do use a lot of gray on batiks as well. The lighter gray, if it's a lighter batik, and a little darker, I use the dark gray. And then I kind of went out of my comfort zone and got this rosy color. This isn't red, but it's more of a magenta. A light magenta, I would say. The actual name of it is Climbing Rose. I just thought this was a pretty color. It might work well on some batik quilts that I've done in the past, and I thought this might be a good color option. I wouldn't necessarily use this as a primary color. It's not that color of a red. It's a little more muted than that. I may not use it. I don't know. I only got one spool of it, not very much, just to see if it was something that I might use it sometime. So those are all the different colors I get. I got this time. I did get duplicates of many of them. On my bobbin thread, I do not normally wind my own bobbins. I have the bobbin machine to do that, but I don't normally do it. I'll use pre-wound bobbins that I really like. And so I have probably about 6 different colors of pre-wound bobbins. So depending on, like on this one, I may use a cream color. I could use a cream color as the bobbin for this one. I'll, kind of match the tone and the color of the top. If I do have just a touch, I didn't bring any of my pre-wound bobbins to show you here on camera today, but I do have one that's a little closer, not quite this brown, kind of in between there. A little bit of a brown. I have a black bobbins. I have 2 different colors of gray, so depending on which color of gray I'm using. And then if I was doing, like if this was my top thread, it depends what the backing is like. If the backing is more of a gray or a busy color, I may just use a pre-wound gray on the back, and you wouldn't notice it depending on the busyness of the fabric. If it's something that I do think the thread is going to show, I will wind my own bobbins in the same color that I'm using on the top. And I would do that for this one, for the blue, and definitely for the red. You could get away with these two. We're using a gray on the back because the tone of it. In fabric you'll have medium prints, and you'll have low volume, and you'll medium and then high volume prints. These I would consider more of a medium, and so I can use a medium gray in my bobbin, and it kind of blends with that same. So each quilt is different. I don't go by hard and fast rules. I have some my preferences, but that's kind of my philosophy anyway, and how I go about in quilting. And so that's always fun to get new threads in and stock my drawer there again. The other thing I got in this week was I received my Calico Garden So Simple Shapes. If you got yours yet, the quilt-along starts January 30th. I know Lori's already put out her Be Prepared post, and I've got mine all printed out. And I'm excited to get started on that. I don't have my fabrics yet. I'm still waiting on those, but those should be here soon. So I've got all those ready. Now, in the past, what I've done is I have left these in this same pouch. And what I'll do is I'll run washi tape down one side of it, and I will 3-hole punch that through the washi tape, and then I'll put this in the back of the binder along with the pattern in the front. So we'll see if that works this time. I just like this. This is a nice heavy, plastic, and instead of, losing all those shapes or trying to find something they'll fit in. Obviously they fit in this, and so that I can just run that washi tape and 3/0 punch it and put it into my binder right with my my guide. So excited to start on that quilt along, coming up the end of January. So today is Tuesday. I always film my videos on Tuesday because customer quilts go home in the afternoon, and Tuesday's always Guild Day. And so once a month on the third Tuesday of each month I have Guild, and I'm excited. This year I'm actually going to take over as secretary of the Guild, so a new adventure for me, but I'm excited for that. And so that'll start tonight. I got to get my fingers ready or computer ready. I haven't decided whether I'll take minutes on a computer or handwrite, but that's my job when I'm at Guild. And one of the projects we've been working on at Guild is our president that is going out of office. She asked if anyone would want to do a block swap of Wonky Stars. And so tonight is the night that we are to bring those. I think we only had 9 or 10 people sign up, something like that. So it wasn't a huge number, and obviously, you know, not everybody can be involved in everything, and it's preference whether you like this kind of a block or not. It was new to me. I'd never done this kind of a block, but I did enjoy it. And so tonight we're bringing all of our blocks, and then the president will divvy them up among everybody and get those back to us next month, and then we'll put them together the following month. It's our choice what we want to do with the blocks once we get them. But tonight we're supposed to bring 8 blocks, and so these are called Wonky Stars, and I will link a couple tutorials down in the description if you're interested in working on this. But let me just show you one of my blocks first of all. So Wonky Stars, a basic star shape, but it's not specifically sized. So I started with white background squares. Mine are 5 inches, and so this one is a white one. This one, you know, the 4 corners are all white ones, and then these middle ones, all I did was lay a piece of fabric. Actually, on this one, I sewed some strips together first, and then I laid that strip across and sewed it, and then pressed it back, and then trimmed it up to the 5 inches, and did that on those 8 points right there. For the middle block, I just sewed some strips together and then cut that to a 5-inch size, and then put it together as a star. So they had asked for it to be bright colors. I hope this qualifies. I just pulled fabrics from my stash. Now these were 1.5-inch strips that I used, and when I did this first, and then I realized 1.5-inch strips was taking me a while to sew them all together to get a big enough piece to then do all that. So I went to a little bigger strips on my other ones, but I just pulled these fabrics from my my bins, and I meant to bring one in with me today when I was filming, but I forgot. I'll do that another time. But I sort my scraps in different sizes. I have a 1.5-inch basket, I have a 2-inch basket, 2.5, 3.5, 5, and then I have some 7s that are not in a basket per se, but down in another spot. So I just pulled out my 1.5-inch basket for this one, pulled out fabrics that kind of matched. These were all the greens, and just started putting them together and made it into that one. So then I also have a blue one. I made some that are the same because they're going to different people, so I didn't feel that they needed to be all the same. So this one, the middle part is scrappy. Just that one little point star has 2 colors, and then the rest are just one color for each of those. I did that one a little more even, didn't I? But I guess if they're different sizes, then it's kind of looks like they're twinkling. Now this one I did all the same fabrics. This is one of my first ones that I did, but the size, you know, you can see the different sizes of my points looks a little different. So I hope that qualifies, that somebody will like it. And I did a couple orange ones. I'll show you these. I might have shown this one before when I was first starting on them. And then this one, I went a little scrappier even than that. So you can see my middle is scrappy, and then that side is scrappy a little bit on this one right here. and we didn't necessarily have a size. Mine, 5 inches, so 15 minus an inch, so 14 inches. And we're able, you know, the squares we'll get back today may be all different ones. So here's a pink one. This one's kind of cute. And another green one. And a third green one. So yeah, Wonky Stars. So I'll link that, the tutorials for that in the description if you're interested in that, and then I'll keep you posted when I get the other ones. We'll swap those tonight and get those in, and then I'll decide on something. At least with 9, if there's 8 others plus me. So if that's 9 people, we at least have 9 blocks so you can make, you know, whether it's a nice table runner. Probably wouldn't match my house, so maybe a baby blanket. Maybe that would be cute. Make it as a baby blanket. I could do that. So also with Guild, I am also in charge of the challenge each month. And so I've only been in this Guild about 1.5 years, and because I had lots of children and they were young, I couldn't be involved in a Guild when I was first into quilting. So it's only been the last couple years that I've been able to be a part of a Guild. And so only being there 1.5 years, I'm kind of still new to stuff, I feel like. And so last year, the challenge was different techniques each month. So one month it might have been foundation paper piecing. One month it was to try a different sort of binding. Another month it was large stitch quilting. And all different things like that. So it kind of changed through the years, and you can be involved in it or not be involved in it. And so I'm actually co-chairing this committee with another gal, and we have decided to do a UFO challenge. And my page slipped across the floor, so hold on just a second while I grab it so I can show it to you. So I came up with this, decided that most of us already have enough projects to work on. So instead of asking everybody to come up with something new again each month, how about we just finish what we already have? And so kind of taking this from, I know some of the quilt magazines do UFO challenges. You know, you list them all out and try to finish as many as you can. I took a little different approach, and I divided the year up by months, and then for each month I put a different UFO challenge. And so I've made up this PDF, and this is what's going to be passed out at our Guild tonight. And I'll just show you a brief picture there. And so what I've done is I've taken some different types of UFOs, and so each month if they want to be a part of the challenge, then they will bring that UFO finished. So they'll get this PDF tonight, they'll take it home and go through their UFOs and list their projects in one of the different categories. So I have things like your smallest UFO. That'll be next month because you've only got a month to work on it. So pick the smallest one. Maybe it's a pot holder that you started and never finished. Maybe it's a table runner. Maybe it's a baby quilt. Maybe, you know, a little wall hanging. Whatever it is, I want them to go through their stash and or into their UFOs and find the smallest project that they have. And I picked other things like a baby quilt is 1 month. A UFO with the brightest fabrics, so that could be anything, you know. The UFO you've had the longest, or a UFO that's a wall hanging. The very last one, our November meeting is our last one where we do show and tell type things. And so I did that one as your largest UFO. So they have all of this information starting tonight, and I want them to fill this out. And then each month, if they are a part of, if they finished a UFO under that category, they will bring that and show it for show and tell. And then everyone that completes the month, when they get there that night, will receive a certificate of completion. And this will change depending on whatever the UFO is. So this is just my mock-up for next month, for February. But it just says, you know, certificate of completion presented to, and we'll fill in their name that night when they arrive and have it, have their UFO finished. For the smallest UFO challenge, Scrap Basket Quilt Guild, it's dated, and then the co-chairs are signing. And this is just something fun. Yay, we finished it. We got a project done. We can mark it off our list. The other thing we're going to do is one of the chairs will sign their UFO challenge sheet, and we're going to keep track. And in our December meeting is our Christmas party. And so they bring this sheet back, and for every month that they finish the UFO, they'll be initialed that they finished it. And then for whoever, let me back up a minute, I forgot. So each month for everyone that brings a UFO completed for that category, their name is entered into a door prize drawing. And I think what we'll do is just like a $5 gift card for a treat. Do you remember when you finished, when you were young and you were in sports, did you do this? You know, you finished a game and everybody went to Dairy Queen. You know, just as a treat after the game, you finished the game, good job. And that's kind of what I'm thinking with this. I didn't want to do just another piece of fabric, you know, that just adds to more projects. So instead, let's treat ourselves for finishing a project. So their name, for everyone that finishes each month, their name goes in a drawing for a door prize. That door prize will be like a $5 gift card to someplace, Dairy Queen, coffee, I don't know, Chick-fil-A, something they can go treat themselves for finishing their thing. But then, back to what I was saying, they will have this initialed each time that they come each month. And then in December, we'll put names, anybody that was able to finish all 10, we'll put those names into one final drawing, our grand prize drawing. And I just thought this would be great. Anybody that finishes 10, we can give them a certificate that says you're out of this world, along with the UFO. I just thought that was funny. You know, a UFO challenge, so you're out of this world, you finished 10 projects. If nobody finishes 10, you know, whoever finished 9, we'll put their names in, or whoever finished the most. We'll kind of judge that as it goes. But that's going to be our UFO challenge, and I'm excited about this. And what I've done is I made up this PDF for our group, but I've also made this available for you. So if you are interested, I can't give you gifts. I can't... I don't know, I'll think about this part. But if you would like to be a part of this challenge or just want to challenge yourself, I'll have this linked in the description below, and it'll ask for your email address. So your name will go onto my email newsletter that I send out every Friday. But if that's okay with you and you'd like a copy of this, just follow that link down in the description and you can get one of those sheets too, and you can start finishing up. In 2023 will be the year that you can finish at least 10 different UFOs that you have. Do you have that many? I know I do. I know I do. So that's going to be a challenge for me too. So that'll be fun. I'm excited for Guild tonight. That'll be a lot of fun. All right, how about we start into some quilts? I have that's the quilts we're going to talk about today. So first of all, I had a client quilt from Alyssa, and let me pick that one up for you. Let me show you the big first. Bring it in a little closer so you can see. So this is a pinwheel pattern, and obviously you can see the colors go diagonally across the quilt. And I'll bring this in a little closer so we can talk about it here. So Alyssa is a young quilter. Probably one of my youngest clients, and this is the first quilt that she's brought to me. I know it's not her first quilt to do, but the first one that she's brought to me. And she told me in her description of this that her mom actually came up with a pattern for her. And I like these polka dot fabrics that she's used, combined with you know, the zigzag and then the flowers, and then here's some orange zigzags with the pink. So just really, it's really cute. Very fun, playful quilt there. And the backing, she chose a gray backing. Now let's talk about that pantograph right there. Alyssa went through my book of pantographs and she chose this one. This is called Espresso. I love the swirls of this. Similar to some others, maybe that I've shown before, what I like about this one is the thinness of the swirls. Others that I have, they're a little more bubbly, which is fun too, but on this one I think this was a good choice that Alyssa made. So this is Espresso. And we did a light gray thread on this. So obviously this blends right in. All you see is the texture on the back. Now with these bright prints on the front, this is a light gray thread. And I think it does well to blend in with all the different colors. Where I mentioned you could have done white, I think white would have been a little stark on some of these. With the gray, you obviously notice it, but it's not overwhelming. Now, Alyssa asked that I put, you might be wondering about this binding. Alyssa asked that I go ahead and put the binding on for her, so I've attached it to the front of the quilt. I actually even pressed it over, but then she'll finish the hand stitching onto the back, so that's why that looks the way it does. She can finish that part. Get that out of the way there. So this, I don't remember the exact size, 40 by 50, maybe, that would be my guess. Something like that. So I know she'll be excited to get this one back. We've been talking about it for a long time, just hadn't been able to get together, and finally we're able to arrange that, and so she'll be excited to get that back and to work on the binding of that one. So very nice job, Alyssa. You're going to go far with your quilting, I know. All right, next one I have, let me talk about this one first. So I mentioned our Quilt Guild earlier, and one of the meetings we always have each year is an auction. So everyone's allowed to bring things that in your sewing room that you know you're never going to finish, and you donate those, and then we do a silent auction, and any item that gets, I think it's like 3 or 5 bids in the silent auction then goes to be auctioned up front. And so one of the objects that I found in the auction this past year was a quilt top that hadn't been finished. And that's the red and white one back there, and I'll show it to you in just a minute. This was, I don't know how old the quilt top was. It has some obvious stains on it. The fabrics were an older fabric from what I would guess. It was some muslin, some pieced muslin actually. Even some of the pieces, you could tell that they pieced pieces together to get it big enough to put into the quilt. It was machine stitched, not hand stitched, the piecing part was, and I just wanted to rescue it. I wanted to rescue it and finish it on the long arm. The only problem I had this quilt is that it had been washed. After it had been pieced, it had then been washed, and so a lot of the fabrics, I wouldn't say a lot, but there are several places in the quilt where the fabrics were pulling away from each other, fraying a little bit. I had to use a lot of starch. I didn't have to use a lot of starch. I had to starch it to get it to lay flat because it was so wrinkled up from being washed and dried. So I would just say, I'm sure what the person did was they washed it, trying to get some of those stains out of it, and it was just a little difficult to work with because it had been that way. But we've rescued it, and I've long-armed it, and let me hold it up so you can see it here. I really like this now it's finished. I haven't done the binding yet. I'll probably just do a muslin binding on it. Isn't that pretty? This is again one of those quilts that it's pretty up close, but the pattern just takes on a whole new look when you get it out straight. I just really like that. Now I meant to look up this quilt block, and I forgot to do that. So if any of you knows off the top of your head what this block is called, I would like to know. Let me see if I can, just one block. That is just one block. So 4 parts. Get this figured out here. All right, so 4 Trying to get just, okay. So do you see that? So it's almost like a white rectangle in here with smaller corners here, larger corners here. And then the opposite here with the red. It's more, actually the thread that I showed you earlier, this is almost the same color. It really is. So it's almost like a rosy magenta color is what it is. So then you have the opposite here. So you have the red rectangle there with smaller corners on either end and the larger ones there. Okay? And then that one matches this one matches this one. And then do you see the secondary patterns that then help start occurring? So this, you know, there's the block, but when you put it together, then you've got these triangles there and these little pieces here, these little ones on the corners. Now watch what happens when you put those on. Isn't that cute? That's just so amazing. So then those, now you've created this block here and this here. Then you start getting these white diagonal lines there, the red diagonal lines there. I just, you know, sometimes the simplest is just the coolest. We come up with some really complicated patterns these days when you take one block like that and you put it into a quilt, and the repeating pattern takes care of itself, and it's just absolutely beautiful. I really, really like that. So, like I said, if you know the name of that block, I'd love to know. I have my Quilt ID book. I just didn't get a chance to look it up to see what it was. And I just chose a muslin for the back. Thought that was the best choice. I looked at some, I have finished some antique quilts where I've put a different color of, or a printed fabric on the back, and that looks good as well. Maybe one day we'll do an antique, antique quilts that I have finished on the Longarm. So I've rescued the tops from an antique store, or like this case from the auction, and then I finished them, and we can go through that. All right, so this is the pantograph that I chose. This is called Chantilly Lace, and let me get the angle just right. This is called Chantilly Lace. A new pattern to me. This is actually the first quilt that I've stitched it on. But what I liked about this one, because this is an antique quilt top, I thought this gave it kind of the vintage feel to it. You know, I really like this one. I really like this one. And I did a cream color thread and bobbin, so it just blends right in. And on the top, so you can see the cream on the red. So like I said, there are some spots, I don't know if I can find them right off the top, you know, of course not while I'm sitting here, that were frayed a little bit. So this won't be one that I have out for general use. It'll be one, once I finish the binding, that'll be put up, and it'll be for display. Maybe hanging on my ladder or on a shelf, but I just really like that one. So if you are at an antique store and see an antique quilt top, they really are usually very inexpensive because nobody knows what to do with them, but I've got a few others upstairs that I need to work on that kind of 60s fabric and kind of bright, but it's what appeals to you. This one appealed to me, and is why I grabbed it. Not everyone does, and so I don't rescue everyone that I see, but I just enjoy doing that and finishing on the Longarm and preserving somebody's work. I don't know who spent all the time to do that, but somebody did, and it was important to them, and I want them to know it's important to me somehow. I don't know that they'll ever know that, but it's important to me that we carry on the tradition and the heritage of quilting. So a fun finish there. And I'll finish the binding. If you want to see it once I finish the binding, just let me know, and maybe I can do that too. But, All right, so my last one for today is my Alpine quilt. And we've been talking about this one for a while. So let me show you the pattern and then I'll pull it up and let you see it. So this pattern is by Camille Roskelley. And if you remember, I first used this pattern as an inspiration for a t-shirt quilt. Where I got my inspiration was for these Christmas trees. And if you're interested in that whole story about the Christmas tree t-shirt quilt, then I will link that video down below so you can hear that whole story. But then I wanted to make this pattern itself as well. So I have this one finished, and let me show you the final quilt. I don't have the binding done, but the quilt itself is finished. So what do you think? Get a little closer so you can see. Two different kinds of houses. You have the green and then the white with the, I did a green little sprigs, and those have the trees on them. My roofs are gray with green striped chimneys. And then the snowflakes, I love these snowflakes. So you can see the star in the middle, but then you've got these other blocks out here that just make it look like a snowflake. I just think that is very ingenious of Camille. So let me hold it up one more time. And we'll talk about it here. All right, so mine was a little different from the pattern. Camille on hers used the dark gray with the white, and some of our prints are the same, some are different. Some of these are her fabrics. So the green in that house is hers, the gray roof is her fabric. This is all from her line called Merry Little Christmas. And the roof fabric is hers. The white was one I had on hand. The gray, I think, I know I had that on hand, but I can't, I can link below what that one is. I can't remember if that's a Lori Holt print or if that's, may not be. It doesn't look like, it might be. I don't know. I'll have to go back and look. But those are her prints. And then on this other house block, the white with the green sprigs, that's her print from the same line. And that green that I have for the trees is not, that was one I had on hand. So I like the look with the lighter gray. I used it because that's what I had. I think it probably does stand out a little better on the darker gray. But I like it. So then the pantograph that I chose, this is called Snow Winds. And so kind of blends in. Let me see if I can get it. So there's two different snowflakes and then like a swirl there. And I thought that went well. I didn't make it super tight. I kind of chose the size of the snowflakes. I didn't want them the same size as that, but a complementary size. So, you know, what's that? Maybe a fourth of it, maybe a third of the size of them. And I did, again on this one, it's a gray thread. So I'll get in here close. So it blends right in with that. And then on the white, you know, maybe shows up a little bit on the white, but I think it's great. I really like that. My backing fabric I chose, now this one is a Lori Holt fabric, and so I went with a little different. This is a gray. I thought those kind of look like snowballs. And so I liked that it had a touch of the darker gray that matched the roofs on the front. And then what I'm going to do for the binding, I actually had a little bit more of this green fabric, and that's going to be my binding. So you can see what that will look like. And I like that. I like the way the green will look on the back and then on the front as well. It'll complement those same house colors. I like that. So I have my binding all made, and that's on one of these Riley Blake I don't even know what they're called. I got this a couple months back in my Sew Sampler box, and so I'll link that down below if you're interested. I like how it keeps it nice and handy, all right there, and ready to put on my quilt there. I'm so excited. So by this weekend, I'll have the binding on it. This will be my TV time, and I'll work on the binding and have that all done. Try to put a nicer, bigger picture out here. We kind of got an overcast day, so I don't know how well I'm going to get pictures today, but we'll try. And I'll put those in here so you can see a bigger picture of the whole quilt. Of course, watch for Instagram as well, because I'll have it on there probably next week sometime. And if you join my email newsletter, like I talked about earlier, then it'll definitely be in there on Friday. So one of the things we mentioned when I talked about my plans for 2023 is that I was going to work on this free pattern by Fat Quarter Shop of the Brickhouses, and I was going to take the fabrics from each of the quilts that I finished this year and make one of the house blocks. So I have that done as well. Now this isn't my favorite. My first block that I've made with this pattern, so I'm kind of learning placements of fabrics, and I don't quite like the way I did this, but I redid it a couple times and I'm still not. I wanted to include as many of the fabrics I can. This is about all the green I had left, and I wanted this white in here, so I started out trying to do like, you know, a stripe of each, and I didn't quite like the look of that, and so then I did you know, kind of alternating, but I didn't know, like, should I have made this one green so that it was green all around the door, and then I don't know, I may redo it again, I don't know. I was out of I used all the gray fabric from the quilt, so I used this one. This is another one that's in that line of fabrics, so it matches this print. It's just in the dark gray color. I used that for the roof, and then the same for the chimney, and then the white is the same that I had in the quilt background as well. So my first house block, and then here's the gray that was the background fabric of the Alpine Quilt. I don't know. I'm not real happy with it. But the pattern calls for these different pieces, and so I'm like, well, I guess I could have just done one long strip of green, one long strip of white, or something like that. I don't know. I may try another one and show you that one. We'll keep which one. I even had the thought, I mean, these are the same size houses. These are the same size houses as in the pattern. So I could just make another one of these and put it into this quilt, you know, because it matches that. And I don't know, it's using the fabrics that I had from that line and just put that in here. So we'll see. You can see the free one, you know, it shows a lot of different fabrics. So maybe that's why mine looks funny, is because I've only got 2 fabrics as the bricks, and maybe I needed to mix it up more. Maybe gray and green. I don't know, if I'd put a white door here, I think I needed to do more of a green here or something, because this white isn't as enough of a contrast there. I like the roof. I'm happy with the roof. But maybe if I'd done more of the grays and greens here, maybe done this as the door even. I don't know. Tell me in the comments what you think I should do with it. And then these are just going, this is my first one, and it'll just go into a box until the end of the year, and then whatever house blocks I have made, then I'll make that into a quilt in my 2023 town or something like that. The other thing I did with some of the scraps, because these sizes 2.5 or something like that, and then you get down to even smaller pieces, and so I had some 1.5-inch squares, and so I just joined them together to make one of these. I think it's called Chex Mix blocks. I've been working on these for a while, and not necessarily that I'll do one for each, but I just had the blocks sitting there, and so I have a whole stack that I've been working on. I think I showed these another time. So this is my leader and ender projects. So as something else, like when I was working on those Wonky Stars, I just grabbed, a green and a white, and I ran it through until I was ready for my next Wonky Star. And these go together really, really quick, and they use up all those little pieces. This is the smallest piece that I will keep as a 1.5. If I can't get a 1.5, then it goes in the trash. But so just a whole stack of these that I'm working on. So there's just another one to add to the stack. And I don't know, eventually I could divide these, I could take all the green ones, there'll be different ones that I do, and make those into a quilt. My mother-in-law loves green, so maybe I could do that for her. Or all the blues, or just put, a red, white, and blue, or something. I don't know. I'm just stacking them up as I use them. So now that I'm finished with this quilt and the house block and the small little squares, I'll take whatever fabrics are left in my little enamel pan, and I'll cut them up and put them into all of my scrap baskets. So the largest pieces, I had a couple like this black, because I didn't use that in this Alpine quilt. I did use it in that T-shirt quilt. I have probably a 1/2 yard of that one left, and so that will get wrapped up and put on my shelf. And I'll share that sometime too, how I keep my larger yardage organized. But then, like this green, I know I have just a few little 1.5-inch strips left, and some of this, if I'll cut it into strips. If I can get a 2.5-inch strip out, then it goes in my 2.5-inch basket. If I can get a little bigger, then I cut off what I can, put it in those baskets, and it'll get divvied up into those baskets, and probably won't be used on one project anymore. Those fabrics will then be dispersed through many other projects. So I'm so excited to have this one done, and I'll get the binding put on it and out on the couch to enjoy for the rest of the winter season. So that'll be a lot of fun. So I think that's all I have for today. We've got an exciting weekend coming up. We've got some friends coming in from Minnesota tomorrow, and they'll be driving all day tomorrow and in here tomorrow night, and be spending the rest of the week through the weekend with us. And so it'll be a busy time. A lot of us in the house, but it'll be a lot of fun, and I know my kids are looking forward to that. So we'll see how much quilting. I've got some customer quilts that I'm picking up this afternoon as well, and so we'll see if those get done this week. I hope so. But lots of quilting going on. So I hope you're getting your quilting time in too, and leave a comment below and let me know what you're working on. I'd love to see pictures of it. Thank you so much for your kind comments and the pictures that some of you have sent so far. I appreciate that. I like to see what you're working on. And I hope you have a great rest of your day, and happy stitching.